Hey there, third grade. This is Mr. Campbell. We are going to be working on page 89 today. So go ahead and grab your math book, turn to page 89. We're going to be doing lesson 3.4, which is apply properties 8 as a factor. At the end of our lesson today, we want to be able to say, I can use known facts and properties to multiply by 8. Now that's a lot of words, but all that really means is we're going to be multiplying by 8 today. And 8 can be another one of those tricky numbers for us. We're going to take a look at it, practice quite a bit with our 8, and see what are some strategies, what are some ways that we can solve those multiplication facts without just memorizing all of them. How can we get through some of those? So we're going to go ahead and turn over to page 90 right now to take a look at what strategies we're going to be using today. All right, so here we are on page 90. I'm going to go ahead and read. Make sure you've got your pencil with me because we're going to underline some parts of our word problem. It says, at a school fun fair, students try to toss a table tennis ball into a bowl. There are 8 rows of bowls, underline that. There are 8 bowls in each row, underline that. And then we're going to circle our question, which says, how many bowls are there? Now remember, when we have a word problem like this, we want to underline our numbers and circle our question. And that just helps us to make sure we're keeping track of what is it that they even want us to answer in a problem like this. So we've got 8 rows of bowls. There are 8 bowls in each row. We want to know how many there are. And look at this. We've got all of those bowls all lined up right here. So we've got 8 by 8. And if you remember from before, what that means is we're actually going to be taking 8 times 8. All right. Those are our 2 factors that we're working with today. And so that's where we're getting our 8 times 8. So that's the factor we want. Let's go ahead and go to box B. And for box B, it says use 2's facts to find 8 times 8. So that number that we just had up there. So we've got our array here. Remember, arrays are going to be an equal number going across and then above. So we've got the same rows of all of those. So we're going to use our 2's facts. So that means they took our 8 rows and broke them into 2 rows apiece. So I've got 4 different groups here with 2 rows and 8 bowls going across. Well, 2's are those easy facts that we can memorize. And so 2 times 8 is going to be 16. So for each of these groups, that's where these 16s are coming from. After I'm done with that, that means now I can add these up. So 16 plus 16 plus 16 plus 16 would give us 64. So 8 times 8 is 64. All right. Well, what about if we wanted to use 4 as our fact? And so box C tells us double a 4's fact to find 8 times 8. So what does that mean? Well, that means they took our array and they split it into 2 rows of 4. So now I can say, well, what is 4 times 8? 4 times 8 is 32. And then if I've got another group of 32, I need to add those 2 together, which is going to give me that 64. So just like we've been practicing over and over again, we can take our array and break it into different groups of facts that we know so that way we can solve trickier problems or problems that we aren't as sure of. We can break them into these smaller pieces and then add them together. Before we go to the next page, I just want to remind you, there is a special term that we use for this. When we have a multiplication problem like 8 times 8, and we break it into 4 times 8 and 4 times 8, and then add those together, this is called the distributive property. And the distributive property tells me, as long as the things I'm adding together give me that other factor, it's okay for me to break them apart into some smaller numbers to work with. So let's go ahead and turn to page 91, and we'll take a look at our guided practice for today. All right, here on page 91, we're going to come back to problems 1, 2, and 3 in just a moment. We're going to start off over here, not with the word problems, but we just want to start with our numerical expressions. So our first one, number 4, we've got 8 times 7. If you remember from the last few lessons, we've been creating arrays by grabbing an extra piece of paper or a whiteboard, and then we go ahead and solve by breaking it down. So I'm going to grab a whiteboard right now. If you want to pause the video and either take out a whiteboard or a piece of paper, whatever works best for you, go ahead and do that right now because we're going to get started on number 4. All right, so here is my whiteboard, and I'm going to go ahead and draw my array. Now I see 8 times 7 means that I've got 8 rows going down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, there's my 8. All right, and then I need 7 going across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And remember, as I'm doing this, I want to make sure that I try to keep these all in line. Like that one wasn't really where I wanted it to be, so I'm erasing it so I can make sure that my columns and my rows are all laid out very clearly. All right, so I want to make sure everything has order. So when I go to solve this problem, it's going to make more sense. All right. So I've got here, I've got my rows. I've got 7 in each of them. I want to break my 8 apart. All right. Well, I can break it into 2s. I can break it into 2 groups of 4. And for this one, I'm going to break it into 2 groups of 4. All right. So when I draw this, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4 going down. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 going down. And then in each of these rows, I've got 7. So 4 times 7, 4 times 7. All right. Now that I've done that, now I can say, all right, what is 4 times 7? Well, 4 times 7 is 28. And I've got 28 here. All right. Now my last step is to add this together. So 8 plus 8 is 16. So my 6 stays here. I regroup my 1 over. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 2 more is 5. So 8 times 7 is 56. All right, so you can write that in with me right now. All right, well, go ahead and erase your boards or get to a new piece of paper as we try out number 5. So number 5, I've got 8 times 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, I'm going to make 4 rows of that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, there is 4 rows, and I've got 8 in each row. Now I'm going to go ahead and, again, decide what I want to do. Well, my last time I broke it into 2 groups. This time I'm going to try using my 2s. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, so I've got 2 in each of these. And then how many are there going down? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, so 2 times 4, 2 times 4, 2 times 4, 2 times 4. All right. Now that I've got that, I can say, well, what is 2 times 4? Well, 2 times 4 is 8. So each of these is going to be an 8, and now I can add them together. All right, 8 plus 8 is 16. That means this is 16, and now I add those together. 16 plus 16 equals 32. So 8 times 4 is going to be 32. All right. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and pause your video right now. Try out number 6, 7, 8, and 9. When you're ready, you can go ahead and press play, and I will show you how to solve those problems quickly. But go ahead and pause right now to do 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at number 6. So number 6 is 6 times 8. I've already drawn out my array. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going across, and there are 8 going down. So here's my 6 by 8. All right, just like before, I can break this into some easier numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and break it into 2 groups of 4. All right, so if I cross it right there. So here I still have 6 going across, but now there's only 1, 2, 3, 4. So 6 times 4. And then down here, same thing, 6 going across, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So now I can solve this easier problem. So 6 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24. All right. 2 6 times 4s, 24 and 24. I'm going to add those together. 4 plus 4 is 8. 2 plus 2 is 4. So 6 times 8 is going to be 48. All right. Now, if you didn't draw your arrays, we're going to go over that in just a second, but I got one more that I drew my array all ready for. So down here in the green, I've got number 7. So this is, there are 10 going across, and there are 8 going down. 2, 4, 6, 8. All right. So this one, I'm going to break into a little bit smaller groups. So I'm going to put them into groups of 2. So 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. So there's 2 in each of these. and then there's 10 going across. All right, and so I can put 2 times 10 for each of these groups. Well, that's a much easier problem. I know my 10s pretty well, especially when they're small like this. So 2 times 10 is 20. So each of these groups has 20 dots inside of them. And now I can add this up. Well, zeros plus all zeros is going to keep being 0. Then 2, 4, 6, 8. So my total here is going to be 80. All right. But you might be sitting there right now saying, you know, Mr. Campbell, I like doing that, but it's kind of a lot, and I just want to use some of the numbers, and that's fine too. What I can do for that is I can take, just using my numbers, I can do the same strategies of what we've been doing. All right. So I'm not going to draw my array for this one, but 9 times 8, this is a large problem. What I can do is I can break my 8 into a 4 and a 4, right? Because 4 plus 4 equals 8. My 9 up on top is going to stay the same. Well, what is 4 times 9? Well, that's 36. So now I've got 2 groups of 36. This is a little bit easier. And now I can add those together. All right. So right down here, I'm going to write 36 and 36. I always try to make sure that I put them on top of each other, keep my place values lined up. Even though I just wrote it like that, I want to stack them up. So 6 plus 6 is 12. And here's why I stack them up. Because when I regroup to that next place value, it's already set up for me. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. So 9 times 8 is 72. All right? A little bit easier numbers. We broke it down just a little bit. 8 times 3, same thing. So I'm going to just write this a little bit higher up. So I'm going to break my 8 into 4 and 4. And then I times both of those by 3. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 12 is 24. So 8 times 3 is 24. This is the same steps that we can use to solve any of these different problems. So let's go back over here to do you understand, all right? Here we've got it written out in words. It says multiply 8 times 3. Write and solve a multiplication equation, all right? All that's asking us to do, underline 8 times 3 with me. All right. And then we're going to circle the words write, and we're going to circle solve. So we're going to write the equation and then solve it. That's all we got to do. So 8 times 3, we already underlined that. Here's our equation. We wrote the equation. Now we're going to solve it. And guess what? We just solved 8 times 3 right over here, didn't we? What was 8 times 3? It's 24. All right. Now I can look at number 2. Number 2 says multiply 5 times 8. Circle right, circle solve. Same thing. How are we going to do that? All right, 5 times 8. There's how I wrote it out. This one we haven't really done yet, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to do this real fast. I'm going to break my 8 into 4 times 5 plus 4 times 5. So I took my 8, broke it into 2 groups. Well, I know 4 times 5 is 20, and then 4 times 5 is 20. And if I add those together, it equals 40. So my solving is going to be 40. All right. Would you go ahead and try number 3? I'm not even going to do anything just yet. I want you to try this out. So pause your video, write and solve the multiplication equation. Multiply 8 times 1. Underline just like we were doing, and then show me what you got. If you haven't paused yet, do that right now. We're going to underline 8 times 1. We're going to circle the word write. We're going to circle the word solve. Those are the 2 steps we've got to do. 8 times 1, we can write it out just like this. All right. So now I've written my problem. Now I can solve it. 8 times 1, this is the identity property, which the identity property tells me anything times 1 is going to be my other factor. So 8 times 1 is going to equal 8. All right. These are the same steps you can use as we work on our independent practice today. Just like we keep on practicing day in and day out, you can draw arrays. You can use those models to help you solve these different problems. Just like our I can statement said at the beginning, we can use these strategies and properties to help us solve larger problems. Well, thanks for staying with me today and working so hard. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and we will see you next time.